Well, here we are, another Wednesday morning. Made my way down to Alton. Just had a fairly heavy rain shower as I was setting up. Seems to have cleared off over that way for now. Loads of silverfish topping. Don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but there's fish all the way along here, topping away. So fingers crossed, where there's silverfish there'll be pike. Got 3 rods out. I've got one as far as I can cast towards the tower, and that's on a herring. The right hand rod is on half a bluey, and that's at about 40 yards. And the rod in the middle, I'm experimenting a bit today. I've got a whiting dead bait on there. So I've heard a few stories about people catching on whiting, and I had a few casualties from the other night sea fishing. So I brought them along today to give them a whiz, see what happens. I've never caught a pike on a whiting, I must admit. I've had a brief try in the past, but sort of not persevered with it. So what I intend to do today is leave that middle rod on a whiting bait all day long, just to see. I might try later on, if it hasn't had any interest at all, try injecting a bit of oil into it or something like that. But there's another swirl out there. But keep your eyes open here, because there is the odd cormorant about, but that was definitely not a cormorant. That's not come up. There's a few grebes working down the right hand side, but that was definitely a fish. So yeah, weather looks like it might have cleared through, so I'm anticipating a half decent day. Rain's back. I keep getting little bursts of heavy showers. I've had one out so far at 9 o'clock. It was about 7 or 8 pounds, I suppose. Second run on the left hand rod, and both of them have come to a herring. The first pickup was really strange, because I got an absolutely blistering run. The braid pulled tight when I picked the rod up. Wound down and struck into it, nothing there at all, and the bait's come back basically like a skeleton. So I'm not quite sure what that was. Possibly an eel. But yeah, put it straight back out on the spot, and half an hour later had that fish. So fingers crossed we don't get a run in the next few minutes while it's like this. I'm sure this is another one of these passing showers, and we'll see how we go afterwards. Can't decide what it's doing today. Like an hour and a half of really heavy showers, and now it seems to have cleared. I've even got that blooming ball of orange fire up there coming through now as well, so who knows what's going to happen. I did actually prefer it when it was overcast and raining. It looked more likely for a bite, but you never know on here. Rods are fishing in real deep water, so no matter what it is out here, it's going to be dark on the bottom there. I just refreshed all 3 baits, and what I've done with the whiting, which is on that middle rod, I've now put a pop-up on it, and I've popped it up the length of the trace off the bottom, so it's sort of hopefully 24 inches swinging around off the bottom. It might get seen easier. Obviously all the activity of all the fish this morning has stopped. Virtually nothing showing at all now, which is exactly the same pattern as it has been on here the last few times. don't even get the shows on dusk here for some reason. So yeah, well, hopefully with those baits refreshed, they've only been out 5 minutes. In the next 5 or 10 minutes, I would like to think might get some interest. A big old slick come up off of the bluey, and I also injected the whiting, as I said earlier, with some what do they call it, piking pirate oil, and that slicked off as well. So I'll come back if there's anything to report. A little bit smaller than the last one, and that's just took the bluey. Let's get the hooks out. Glove on. There you go. Nice clean little fish, getting straight back. Well, there you have it. It just goes to show. Right, in sunny weather, they still feed. Get the net back down there, and we're away. Rebait, and we're off. Well, I've just had fish number 4, which was literally 10 minutes after I put the last one back. That's gone to the middle rod again, which is a whiting. And as I said last time, I just popped it just off the bottom. A really interesting thing, it was only a fish of about 6 or 7 pounds. It wasn't very big, but like all of them in here, they fight like bloody tigers. So I eventually got it in, got the hooks out, and inside its mouth, I could not believe, apart from the remnants of my whiting, it also had a gob full of these little boys. I mean, you see the scale of that thing. It's probably 2 inches long, if that, maybe even 1.5 inches. But it had at least 5 or 6 of those in its mouth, so it's obviously hunting whatever that is. Possibly a little bream. It looks like a bream, maybe. A really tiny skimmer. It's got a very, very fine scale. I don't think it's a roach. It's obviously took the tail and the fins off, but yeah, that was very interesting. That basically the whiting has produced literally within 10 minutes. So guess what's on the middle rod again, and that's gone straight back out onto the same spot. Now as I went to cast, I could see something had disturbed something on the bottom, because an oil slick come up right 30 yards out where that's been going. So I've plonked it straight back on the middle of that slick, felt it down, tightened up. So we'll just see now whether it is maybe it's just a visual thing. They're seeing the whiting because they're brilliant white colour. I'll show you one down here. I've got one left, funny enough. So once that's gone, we'll be on to the normal course baits. But literally, there it is, undersized whiting. Basically, when we're fishing the beach matches on Monday nights, you do get a lot of fish that are deep hooked and don't go back. So what I've done was kept 4 this week as a little trial, and it seems to be something worth considering for future trips and other waters. So when I go next Monday, I shall find out, ask along the match length and get them to save any dead ones. So it could be a reoccurring theme for the rest of the pike season. So I'm up to 4 fish now. That's the biggest that one was probably about 13, 14ish. So yeah, things are looking up. Weather's brightened up as well. Rain's blown away. There's hardly any wind, but it has moved the rain away. So fingers crossed we might get something a little bit bigger before we pack up. And you can see out there, obviously when I picked it up and struck, the blueies fell off and all the oils come up again. Obviously I then rebaited with another bluey and put it straight back out on that spot, so there's a fair old oil slick out there. I've now realised why my stomach's rumbling, so I've got the old toasted cheese and onion sandwich there, ready for lunch. Hopefully fit in a bit of lunch now before the next little surge of bites. I'm on 5 fish now, and as I say, they all seem to be peas in a pod, the others. I've had 4 of them have been between 6 and 7 pounds, just the one slightly bigger. So maybe when the light drops off a little bit, one of the big girls might turn up. Hope so. Offcuts and trimmings down there on the bank for the birds. It didn't take them long to find it, and as they're flying off with it and dropping bits, you can see it's creating a massive great slick there now as well. But I don't think there'll be much left when they're finished. They're like a load of savages, look. They're coming from all over the lake, but anyway. Not going to do my fishing any harm, so I thought I'd give them a free meal. And what that slick there is, I really don't know what that is. It's something from maybe one of my baits in the margins, but you can see how much it spreads. That's from one fish. That must draw fish in. They must pick that scent up and move in. So I've just moved the right hand rod, which is the herring, in close next to the whiting now, because that's done nothing. It's been out to the right on its own in sort of open water all morning, not had a touch. I've had 3 on bluey and 2 on whiting so far, so we shall see. Normally it's the herring that picks up the bigger fish, so that's why I persevere with that on the right hand rod. So I've only got the 1 whiting left, and we'll see how we go. Well, it's fast approaching mid-afternoon. It's been a bit quiet since that little spell. 5 fish in probably an hour, maybe an hour and a quarter. Yeah, it's turned into a reasonable day. All the yachts are now starting to come out for their little evening frolic. I've moved the rods across slightly, so the right hand rod is now out towards the yellow buoy. Middle rod's more towards the right hand side of the tower, and the left hand rod now is towards the Steve jump ramp over there. Had any indications since all those recasts, but as the light drops away now, I would be inclined to think that something might happen. You can notice on the left hand side of the picture, which is the left hand rod, there's a slick, and it's sort of there. Whether that's one of my baits been touched, or whether it's something else laying on the bottom. I've got a now sneaky suspicion that someone else has fished here recently, and when they've finished their session, or when they've rebaited, they've thrown their discarded baits into the edge, because I've had a couple of slicks come up from a place where I know I haven't had any baits today, or I haven't put any baits in, literally as close in as down here, down the bottom here, 10 foot out. Now it's probably only about 4 foot deep there, and when it slicks up, it is a real big slick, so it's, I think, someone else's discarded dead baits. Be interesting to know. I'm tempted now to move one of those rods and literally put it in, so you can just see, probably 10 or 12 foot out, there's a little duck coming along, and that's exactly where it's been slicking up there. And I've definitely had no baits nowhere near there today. So yeah, might be tempted to put a rod right close as it gets darker. We shall see. Right hand rod I've just moved to about 10 or 12 feet out from the rod tip, and it's a little bit deeper than I thought. It's about 6 foot. I went down with a big donk and it's all tightened up, and the little slicks just come off that bait. I might even refresh that bait in a little while before it gets dark. Probably going to fish an hour into dark like we normally do. Yeah, but it'd be interesting to see if that goes now. There's definitely been something along that line, that 12 foot out line, in several different little spots all along the front of where I'm fishing. Whether something is mopping up old dead baits, I don't know. We shall soon find out. Last knockings now, it's just gone 4 o'clock and the light levels are dropping pretty quick now. I haven't had any more interest since 2 o'clock probably. The last fish I had was 2. It all got a little bit quiet, so they were in a burst between 12 and 2 o'clock. It does seem to be the pattern on here. When you get them for a couple of hours, then they're gone. So unless the darkness brings a few more on the feed, you may not see any more updates. Got a little bit more rain forecast for in the next hour, so I'm sort of going to monitor that and keep an eye on it, and if it starts getting heavy I might then do a slightly early pack up rather than have to put everything away wet. So I've ended up with 6 fish and dropped 1, so not too bad at all. Seems to be a lot of fish in that 6 to 8 pound bracket at the moment, which can only be good for the future. Yeah, so if there's any updates or if I get anything decent, I'll attempt to either video it or get a photograph, and then we'll be on our way. Turned up a good 3 minutes after I'd done that last piece, so much for the in the next hour. So everything was nice and dry, ready to pack away, and now I'm getting absolutely hosed down again. So might as well sit it out now. I don't like packing up in the rain. I'll have to try and time it for a gap when it stops.